It is about, so when I look at myself, we think about it not as a bank that has come in, as a corporate that has come in, but as an SME that has come in to serve the SMEs. And if you're thinking about it right, you're understanding what products you're going to sell, you understand your clients, you've invested in people more than infrastructure, I think you're going to get it right. It's very simple, it's no rocket science, just continue to do what you know, and I think you'll be there.
Excellent, thank you. Craig?
I'd say understand your ecosystem, right? So make sure that you are not only part of an ecosystem, but you are finding ways, innovative ways of working within an ecosystem, looking for symbiotic relationships. You know, a quick example at Beehive, one of the companies that came onto our platform for funding, which is a Dubai SME 100 company, German imaging technology. You know, we worked with those guys, they took a funding line from us, and then we started to offer out a service to other members of the Beehive community to pick up the printer cartridges from German imaging technology. So, very cheap thing, but it just starts to create, a bit like Michael was saying, a kind of stickiness and people, you know, trying to help each other out. So I think an ecosystem is quite an important thing. And secondly, you know, even from the start, you begin with the end in mind. So I think you have to have a vision, because if you're going to go and hire smart people and you're going to encourage smart people to work with you, they've got to believe in your vision, right? And that means, as an entrepreneur, you've got to have a vision that excites people and that you can, you know, you can keep people on track, invigorated, and when things get a bit tough and, you know, they have to put a few more hours in the office, they're willing to do that because they believe in the mission, they believe in the vision, and I think that's important.
Got it, thank you. Mr. Murthy, from your side.
I consider the turbulent time as an opportunity. Please leverage your core competencies, core strengths, leverage your productive resources, and everyone in the organization should talk in the same language. You have to optimize your work culture and work deliverable. Thereby, you will be able to create value in these circumstances. Don't give up. This is a time where you can really prove yourself when the turbulent time comes, because the marginal elements will get evaporated in the system. Only the quality organizations will survive in this environment. So when such is a case, leverage your core strengths. Keep the strength of the organization as lean as possible and concentrate on what you can do to develop in this environment. So be practical, do what ought to be done, and don't try to be complacent in this environment.
Excellent.
And this environment gives a lot of opportunities. I always consider risk as an opportunity. So turbulent time you consider as a risk is a very big opportunity which you should leverage.
Excellent. That was a very good comment, to consider turbulent times also as an opportunity. Just to recap the how to beat from what we've heard from the esteemed panelists here is A, go beyond your domain, go expand your base. 2, invest in people. 3, I think be a part of an ecosystem. Don't just alienate yourself and do your business in a very small domain, networking as they call it. Focus on the business plan. And I think cost correction, big emphasis on that. Financial cash flow management, also very important. So I think there were some great, good golden nuggets that I'm sure you all must have derived out of this deliberation. Finally, please give a big round of applause to the panelists for sharing their experiences and knowledge. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Assis Merchant and esteemed panelists. With the next panel discussion on how to create a sustainable competitive advantage with technology, we have somebody who's a digital expert. He will extract recipes for digital doping from the panelists. So please, a sporty round of applause for Daniel Eid, CEO of Pixelbug.
Great. Hi everyone, thanks for staying here. I'll start by introducing myself. My name is Danny. I'm the founder and CEO of Pixelbug. We are a startup, essentially, that we've been running for 3 years, working with some of the biggest multinationals, such as Procter & Gamble, Nestle, and Lego, helping them engage with a younger audience using augmented and virtual reality technology. We have a very exciting panel today, and it's made up of experts from the most reputable international tech companies. And they will help us try to understand and navigate the new paradigm shifts of the upcoming technologies. So first, I'd like to introduce Mr. Jean-Luc Scherer, who is responsible for M2M and IoT sales in Middle East and African region. He's also an accomplished mentor and startup innovation coach at local accelerators and incubators such as In5, Turn8, and Flat6 Labs. All right, so second, please help me welcome Mr. Haider Saloom. He's the director of SMB segment at Microsoft. He is tasked with helping SMEs realize their full potential through adoption of innovative tech and cloud transformation. Next up is Mr. Ryan Murdoch. He's head of data and analytics at Starcom MediaVest Group, MENA, and emerging markets. And in case you're wondering, there's no relation with Rupert Murdoch family, although he's in the media. He's in charge of systems development and spearheading data profiling and analyses. And finally, but not least, Mr. Steve Cox, who is a VP of Oracle Cloud. He's been involved with SMEs for 30 years, so bringing a wealth of expertise onto this panel. And with Oracle, he's been since 1997. We had someone from Etisalat. Unfortunately, the person got sick. So if there's anyone from DO. So we're here to discuss how to create a sustainable competitive advantage with technology. And it's in a time where technology is evolving and morphing exponentially, ever more rapidly. So we're witnessing a convergence of artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, and augmented and virtual reality. And all this is creating a whole lot of data that we call, there's a lot of buzzwords, but big data. But what is exactly big data? We want to try and elucidate all these buzzwords that you might hear in the tech space and just simplify it for everyone so that it becomes less intimidating, which is our goal here today, and to understand how we can harness these technologies in order to allow SMEs to be able to compete on a global scale, and understand that nowadays there's never been a better time to start a business. I'd like to address my first question to you, Steve. How would you advise SMEs to harness today's cloud computing environment in order to be able to have a competitive advantage on a global scale?
That's a good question, somewhat difficult to answer. I would say for any SME, and I said it earlier, now's the time. The costs of entry, the costs of buying an enterprise-grade system on subscription have never been lower.
Correct.
You don't have to look at purchases that are only going to be good enough for your business as it is today. If you have growth, if you expect to grow, you can buy the right system you need for the price you need right now. And it's very quick to implement. It has none of the challenges that the old systems has, where you were stuck on an upgrade treadmill, the nightmare where you've bought the system, it takes a long time to implement, and then when upgrades come, they're big and hefty, and they equally take a long time to implement. So I think to derive competitive advantage, you can use the same systems as the largest companies in the world use.
Correct, because it's like a pay-as-you-go service nowadays,
Exactly.
right?
Yes.
So you just use for the amount of space that you need.
Absolutely.
So on that point, what do you think, Jean-Luc, would be a good way of moving forward for SMEs?
Yeah, I think that question, we can maybe even put it in a slightly bigger perspective, which is the need for every business to become a digital business. And there cloud becomes an essential element, because basically you can produce basically at zero cost pretty much. But then also, since everything is connected nowadays, it also means that you can also reach out to to your customers, to your clients at zero cost as well. And that gives opportunities for SMEs to scale very quickly, at very low cost, and also gives SMEs opportunity to disrupt other industries.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, Haidar, I know Microsoft has the Azure cloud. And there also, I'm witness of that. Microsoft helps SMEs and approaches us to try and get us on board with this program. So if you could just give more of a better image on that.
Sure. So I think the biggest story for SMEs in the cloud is really simple. We have a lot of technologies and capabilities specifically on Azure, and Azure has more than 65 pre-built services that allows any small business, without having specialized infrastructure, without having so many people of IT on board, to come up and launch different types of services. Some of the services could be media streaming. If you want to stream an event like this on the web, you don't need to have a dedicated infrastructure. You can do that pay as you go, as Steve mentioned. So no big investment upfront. And things like big data, data analytics, IoT, all these become services. Today these are buzzwords, but they become services that you can go on an Azure environment and use those as you find the need is. I have a project, I'll sign up to it, I'll use it for a month or two, and then my project is done, so I shut it down, this infrastructure, without having to make a massive CapEx infrastructure.
Perfect. And Ryan, from Starcom's perspective, you're almost the client for these guys, right?
Sure.
So how does Starcom use that to their advantage? Do they use these infrastructures? And how do you guys make sense of the data that you acquire from the end users?
You no longer need kind of big IT departments, big CapEx expenditure. You can go and buy this stuff off the shelf. So when I came to the region 3 years ago, Starcom didn't have a data analytics unit. We could have gone back to Paris, which is where our head office was. Waited 6 months for the kind of development and the whole kind of IT infrastructure to kind of turn something around. Actually, for us to get into the market quickly, we went to people like Amazon Cloud Services. We evaluated Azure, and a lot of that stuff you can just get off the shelf now. You can pay with a credit card. A lot of it doesn't require like specialist skills anymore. You don't need to be a programmer. If you have the appetite and you want to learn, a lot of this stuff are like GUI front end, so you can just go plug and play and get started very, very quickly. I think the challenge you have in today's world is there is so much data. What is it you look at? What's important for your business? Really, really focus on what you need to for your business, and kind of be very, very direct in that sense. It's not about collecting everything from a data.
That's great. Now on that point, how would you say is the best way to go about that? Are there like third-party services that make sense of the reams of data that you acquire? Is it part of that cloud infrastructure to do that? What exactly is once you acquire all this information, what do you do with it?
I think what these two guys do is they have cloud services, so you can go to different vendors of different things, whether that's visualization, analytics, storage, and actually I think as an SME you're probably better partnering with one of them. Now some will be better in certain places than others, and you have to decide what is more important to you as a business, but actually partnering with one of them for that ecosystem to be all connected makes it much easier from an end-to-end solution.
Great.
Just
So, you want to add something?
one comment about this whole discussion about data analytics and big data, and this is what we talked a bit about earlier, and that is a little bit a word of caution also for SMEs in particular. I mean, you need to know what type of data you're interested in and what you're interested in to actually be able to monetize that data. So for instance, there's a lot of, today, a lot of efforts that are put into analytics and collecting different types of data for improving the customer experience. So this is one of the essential elements where basically, again, going back to the digitalization strategy of an SME, getting the right information about your customers, about the interaction with the customers, learning about whether they're happy or not with your products, that's essential for the SME.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You wanted to add something?
Yeah, I think there's one observation I would make about big data is my experience with SMEs is get the small data right too. Because the small data is the structured data you have about your business. You need to do, as we talked about earlier, you need to know the information about your business immediately. You need to know the things that are going right, the things that are going wrong, absolutely right now.
Correct.
And then, and only then, should you go the big data route, because that adds all the unstructured data to it. So my own view would be, as an SME, I want to get my structured data, my small data right, then my big data.
100%.
You can do them in parallel, but
Yeah.
you got to get them right. These are basics.
Step by step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very good
Agreed.
point. So just so that we get a feel for the people in the audience, who qualifies as an SME or as an entrepreneur? Can I just see a show of hand?
Yeah.
All right, and the others who didn't, are you part of bigger corporations, perhaps? Yeah? Okay, cool. So we all spoke about now everything that's around data. Now, I'm sure something that's on everyone's mind is are these services really secure? If I have all of my information in the cloud, isn't that risky for me as a business? Don't I expose myself to hackers or to potential competitors? So I think if we can start with you,